Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. We're going to talk about our suspension forks here. Just some simple maintenance on these. First and most obviously, make sure you're keeping the nice steel tubes. I believe they're stanchion tubes, Stanton tubes. Make sure you're keeping them wiped off, the dirt and everything, because you do not want that dirt migrating down into this rubber seal here. Not to mention that any particles and stuff up here can scratch the actual nice shiny shafts there, okay? And I would suggest, and yes, I'm going to take my own advice, excuse me, I'm going to get some actual shop towels, because if you're using like a regular cloth, you could get lint on there that could work itself, you know, that could work down there inside these tubes. You don't want that. You know, just make sure you're periodically wiping these off. And here in a second, we're going to talk about the importance of getting a special lubricant that you will also use on this clear shaft right here on your metal tube. And what that'll do is it'll actually compress, or you'll compress your forks down. What is that thing, like totally locked, or? No, it's totally open. Another thing too, you guys know how to adjust, but yeah, see, I'm going to look into some lubes for these though, because, you know, these are expensive bikes. You want to take care of them. And I was looking on Amazon the other night, and I also know there's some sleeves that you can get that actually will cover these as well to help minimize the amount of dust and dirt that you get on these. That's going to be determined by your riding conditions. But nonetheless, good practice to keep them clean. And of course, you guys know on the Lectric, you have two different knobs. You guys are familiar with the blue lockout. This one here, simply put, stops your suspension from working, depending on your riding conditions. Like if you're riding primarily pavement, you know, you could lock this out. That way you're not losing torque when you're pedaling. Because, yeah, you know, when I get on my bike, if I have my suspension loose, which I usually kind of leave it loose, you know, there is a little bit of a bounce every time you're doing some kind of pedaling, depending on how much torque you're putting into your pedaling, of course. So keep that in mind. And on the Lectric, I know some people have wondered, well, what's this other knob? Well, specifically in the manual on the Lectric, it states this other knob does nothing at all. But what this other knob does do on certain bikes is it will adjust the spring tension down inside of the actual fork. So basically, if you have your forks all the way open, so they will compress. If you were to tighten up the preload adjustment, that's what this technically would be called, a preload adjustment. If you were to tighten that up, well, it would tighten up your suspension, or you would loosen it all the way up. Now, that is actually true on the Rad Mini. On the Rad Mini, you have the normal lockout over here, but this one here on the Rad Mini is exactly the preload adjustment knob, and it does exactly that. Right here, right in the manual. This doesn't need to be something, you know, that you go to some pro mechanic to understand. It's right in your manuals. Take your time, read your manuals, read the instructions. It's not too hard, but this one here on this bike actually does work. I was fiddling with it the other day. If you turn this all the way clockwise, it'll put the most tension it can on the springs down inside. And of course, if you turn it out all the way clockwise, you're going to have the loosest suspension setting that you could get. Adjust it to your own riding conditions and how it feels for you. But that's on the Rad Mini 4. You cannot do that on the Lectric 2.0 or even the 1.0. The 1.0 didn't have any forks. Other than that, charging my battery up. I'm going to be doing some throttle only test for range. You know, for my riding conditions over here, pretty much concrete road, minimal hills. There are some areas I'm going to go and get some video on, which are steeper climbing hills. Definitely on roads. It definitely pushes the bike to its limit. Let me tell you what, the motors on these are loud. Very loud. The higher your power output, PAS, or your full throttle. Yeah, so keep that in mind. If you don't want to be heard, don't run your motor in a high thing if you don't want attention brought to yourself. In some cases, not a bad idea. You know, there's some people out there that are kind of like, oh, you know, you shouldn't be on that bike or this way and that way. But I've never had a negative comment. We've actually had some call outs. Hey, you know, cool bikes and whatnot. You know, it makes you feel good. You smile, you feel good about it. So, yeah, just a little bit of a video there about the importance behind taking care of your forks. Metal shafts down here. Make sure you keep them clean. I use regular paper towel, but I'm going to go ahead and buy some of the actual shop towels. That way I know I don't have any problems. I know they cost a little bit more money, guys, but, you know, use them sparingly, only for important projects. And when I decide on a lubricant to use for this and get it, I'll do another video showing you guys how I do the lubricant based on the instructions on the bottle, the container. So a lot of this stuff you can do yourself at home, but if you don't feel comfortable with it, don't risk it. Definitely take it to a bike shop, okay? But you do not have to be a pro mechanic to figure out how to do a lot of these things and maintenance on your bikes. Don't let anyone fool you on that, okay? You know, if you can read instructions, if you got the right tools for the application, you can do a lot of this stuff on your own. All right, guys? Yep, that'll end this video. You guys keep safe out there. Don't slip and fall in muddy inlets when you're coming up into driveways. That almost happened to me the other day. And make sure you're wearing a bike helmet. I haven't been doing it. I did buy one. Especially important this time of year. Lots of wet leaves. I've had a couple of close calls, and I don't want to crack my egg open and have it drain all over the sidewalk, right? Into the gutter. All right, guys. Keep safe out there. Peace.